glad that we were able to talk this morning about watercolors and what to do and how to use them. So remember all those things today as we do our project. Don't forget about any of them. And remember, always tell your grown-up when you're going to be getting your paints out, because they like to know. My suggestion is to put something down. I'm going to put a placemat down to protect my table from the paint and the water. We're going to take our crayon and we're going to add a layer of paint on top of it. So you'll need, for this assignment, you'll need a paintbrush. If you have a thicker paintbrush, it would be nice, but this one in here in your new watercolor set would also work. Okay, so either a thick one or the one that you have. You'll need a cup of water. Again, do not fill it all the way up. You just want a tiny bit of water at the bottom in case you have a spill. So it's a lot easier to manage if you have just a small bit of water. I always put some paper towels under where I'm working so I can dab my brush on it and also catches any extra water there. Okay, so when you have those materials ready, we're ready to begin. So whenever we do a wax resist, the first thing that you need to remember is that the crayon on our corn needed to be colored really dark. So when you were coloring last week, as you were checking at a class, I reminded some of you, I said, oh, your crayon looks a little light. So I told you to go back and put some more wax, crayon wax on top of it. So if you did that, that was good. If you cannot see your crayon because you colored super light, go back over before you paint and put another layer of crayon on top. Okay, so make it nice and dark. Once you've looked at your paper and you decided that it's nice and dark and you're ready to paint, we're going to go ahead and get our paints opened up. This is what we call a wax resist. So a wax resist means that the crayon has wax in it. It's a wax-based product. So when we put water on top of it, which watercolor paint is mainly water, the wax will actually push off that water substance. And so you'll be able to see the colors underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and wet my brush, and I'm going to use my bigger one first, and I'll use both of them so you can see how they work. So always get it wet. I kind of dab it off on the side, and I can use my paper towel. Once I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and put water into the color that I want. So I'm going to want this black. And you can see I'm rolling my brush in it, loading it up with that color. Okay, once I've got it loaded, I'm going to go ahead and just start coloring on top of my crayons. And I'm filling in all that space in between my corn. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and cover it all up. Okay, you can see how I've covered up my crayon, and you can see how you can still see the color of the crayon. This paper is pretty thin, so we just want to make sure we do a thin layer of paint. We don't want to keep going back and forth over it. You got to let this dry, because if it kept going back and forth over this paper, it's going to rip a hole in it. You're not going to be very happy with it. So why don't I go ahead and show you how to use this other brush. So I'm going to rinse this brush out and just set it here on the paper. And with the brush that we all have, this green brush, we're going to go ahead and dab this one off. Now on this last one, I chose to do cool colors around it, but I think on this one I might want to stick with maybe some warmer colors in the background. You could do it all black, or maybe we could add some brown here and kind of warm it up a little bit. And we're just going to do some layers around the corn to make it a little bit more interesting. Could do stripes. You could do it all one color. So I'm loading that brush up, just getting all that color in there. I'm just going to go around. Okay. So we're just going to keep going. Let's fill this whole paper up. I'm going to go ahead and switch to my bigger brush so it goes a little faster. And you'll notice the paper is going to get kind of transparent, but when it dries it will go back and it will be opaque again. So just don't move it, let it dry all the way. It will take maybe an hour or so to make sure that it's completely dry. You'll notice I'm not mixing colors today. I'm just putting the color in that I need and washing my brush out in between so that I'm not mixing the colors all together and ruining my paint set. I want it to stay nice and clean and new looking. Okay, so we had orange, and I think I just want to go even lighter. Let's go with yellow on the edge. I think I like this one better than the first one. You notice I blended my colors a little bit. I overlapped them a little bit and I went from brown to orange to yellow. And those colors look good next to each other. Okay, it's done. Like I said, let it dry. Make sure that you let it dry all of the way, and you can take a picture of it and send it to me in Canvas when it's all dry. I'd love to see how your corn turned out, and I hope you enjoyed this exercise and that you remember everything that we learned about how the Native Americans needed this corn to survive and how they actually made it so that we could all have it. All right, have fun, enjoy this assignment, and I'll see you soon.